Hello, everyone. Thanks very much, TEDx, for having me. I am really delighted to be able to come and talk to students and everyone else about donkeys. I want to talk to you all today about the wonder of donkeys and really tell you what they have done for my life, and also why I think that if the world were a little more donkey, maybe a little less jackass, it would do us all a world of good. I hope Toronto's listening. Sorry, Toronto. So you just heard that I actually was in corporate life before, some years ago, not too many. I worked in downtown Toronto. I was the vice president of communications and PR for a large financial company. And someone came along and told me about this donkey sanctuary in Guelph where I had gone to high school, and I was kind of shocked, and I'm a big animal lover, so I had to go, and I got out there within a couple of weeks and was immediately charmed. The seeds were planted for what later was to happen. I couldn't believe this place existed or these stories, and I really fell in love. So I became a donor then and a frequent visitor, and I thought, I'll be back somehow. Then I moved out of the city, sort of starting to get away from the corporate crazy life I was in. And I went to work at the University of Waterloo. I don't know if that's allowed to say here in this university, but I worked at a really great job at the Institute for Quantum Computing, where my second week of work I actually met Stephen Hawking, which that was pretty cool. But ultimately, donkeys trumped science. I said to everybody, you know, this is a wonderful job, but if anything ever comes up at the donkey sanctuary, you know, I'm out of here, I'm gone. And then something did. Our founder, Sandra Patey, decided to retire last year. And so I went for it. I wore my I Believe in Donkeys t-shirt to the interview, very professional, and they offered me the job, and here I am today, so I'm very grateful. So let me just do a wee commercial about what this place is before I get into a little bit more about donkeys. It's been around since 1992. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. If not, after today you will come. So we have, sounded rather bossy, but anyway, we have rescued over 160 animals, donkeys and mules, since it was incorporated as a not-for-profit. Our mission is actually twofold. So we are there to rescue donkeys and mules who have been abused, neglected, abandoned, or whose owners need a new home. And the second half of our mission is outreach and education and really promoting the welfare of all animals, but also educating the world about donkeys. So right now on the farm, on the sanctuary farm south of Guelph, we have 75 donkeys and mules. And we have a small, very dedicated staff and a group of about 40 magnificent volunteers who have really given up their world to make it all happen for the donkeys out there. We get actually 14,000 visitors a year, and thankfully we do, because we are entirely funded by individual donation. We don't have, at this point, government money or anything like that. It's just people who get charmed, as I did. So people ask me all the time, it's a natural question, you know, where do these donkeys come from? Where do you get them? So this one is, I thought I'd use it as an illustration. This is Chicklet, and we got him a long time ago. He was abandoned in a field, and we got him when he was 6 months old. His ears were frostbitten off, he was covered with sores, he was starving, the whole 9 yards. He was really in horrible shape, and someone notified us. So we went and got him. He had 11 happy years on the sanctuary. He actually met a friend. He met this other little donkey that had a deformity named Paco, Paco hadn't bonded with anyone, and the two became friends, and they roamed the sanctuary together for 11 years, and they both died within a couple of weeks of each other. So it was a very touching friendship. We've got a little marker out there now that says Paco and Chicklet together forever. We get our donkeys mostly from Ontario, but some from as far away as Vancouver or British Columbia, Quebec, and even a few from the States. Just as another example, this is actually a very happy story, of which most of ours are. We only believe in happiness at the Donkey Sanctuary. Sorry, I know I'm a Hallmark card, but that's the way it has to be there, because there's a lot of sadness out there, a lot of rough things we see. So when they get to the sanctuary, we're all about the positive. Trooper came to us, he was relinquished to us by someone, and he came again like Chicklet, covered in sores, beaten, starved, unable to walk. His feet were so bad he could barely move. We called him Trooper, though, because of obvious reasons. He just kept on going. And we nursed him back to health, and we spent a lot of time with him and gave him the kind of love and attention that he needed. And he's a very popular barnyard donkey today. Actually, there's some regiment somewhere from some long ago war that sponsors Trooper. This was our latest family rescue from this summer. I don't know if any of you guys heard about it. There was quite a bit of press about this rescue from this farm in the Hamilton-Burlington area. We got 4 donkeys. The mom, the white one, is Diamond. She came with her foal, Ruby, who's two weeks old at the time, and they were, again, undernourished. They couldn't walk because their feet were so sore. You know, we just see this time and time again, but we are very happy to report that they are now thriving. And Ruby, it's really funny, she's the youngest donkey there, and she's going and tormenting some of the older donkeys by playing and running around and being, you know, like a kid. We also do have mules, 9 mules in the sanctuary. I don't know who might know this, but a mule is a hybrid cross between a female horse and a male donkey, and the 2 streams in them make them quite twin-spirited, quite kind of crazy sometimes. You know, we say you tell a horse, you ask a donkey, and you negotiate with a mule. That's what they're like. And this is our dear Hummer, and he came to us 11 years ago, and he had been passed around like sort of like a foster child. It had 10 homes or something, because people wanted a riding animal, but Hummer was having none of it. And finally, the last person said, okay, this is enough, and relinquished him to us. And now that Hummer knows no one's going to hassle him, this is what he likes to do the most. He likes to hang out over the fence and get his ear scratched. So he's a very sweet boy. So why donkeys in the first place? You know, were you liking my picture? Is that, yes, okay. Why, and we get asked that a lot too, why donkeys and what the heck, you know, who knew that there were these donkeys? They are not from Canada originally, and they really, you know, oughtn't to be here. They are not suited for this climate or this vegetation. They're from the deserts of northern Africa. And we don't know exactly when they came, but we believe that they came with Columbus to North America. And as you likely know, they've been used, you know, as work animals even in North America. And in Canada, they were used to help build a railroad, to haul things across the country. And they were used in the mines, hauling things in and out of the mines as well. Today, in Canada, we find them being used on farms to guard herds against predators like coyotes. They're in petting zoos, they're in zoos, they're used as companion animals. They're used horribly in some sports, so please don't ever go to one of these events of donkey baseball and donkey basketball. That's just a pure exploitation of them, and they're often quite hurt by these things. So there are lots of donkeys here. So why do this? Because it's necessary. Someone has to do it to clean up the mess that people have made and left all these donkeys just abandoned and discarded, and so we are here to help with that. We call the donkeys on our farm the forgotten equine. A lot of people are actually surprised to learn that they are equines, along with zebras and horses. So zebras are considered kind of exotic and unusual, and horses are majestic and regal and are used for all kinds of things, and donkeys are considered somehow the lower status animal, like lesser, less interesting, less beautiful than their equine cousins. But come on, Juanita and Buffy here, beautiful, yes, they're all beautiful. They really are. It's not just crazy donkey lady. I think they're gorgeous. You know, they are used actually in agrarian economies. Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge, says there are 50 million donkeys in the world today. They've been around for centuries and have been domesticated for centuries. And they are used all over the world primarily as working animals in agrarian, poor economies. And then, you know, discarded when they've reached the end of their natural lives, I guess. So I understand them to be the backbone of these economies. Without donkeys, many people around the world actually couldn't survive. They couldn't. So donkeys have done a great deal of service for humankind all over the world. And yet, they get such a bad rap. I mean, what's the first word that came to your mind when you heard the word donkeys, honestly? Anyone? Say again? Ass? In the bad sense of the word? Stupid, yeah? Stubborn, I think. You know, we hear that a lot too. They are, pardon the expression, but really the butt of jokes everywhere. They're kind of the world's, to me, most misunderstood animal. Because actually there's nothing like that about the donkey character. That's not who they are. And we try to dispel a lot of those myths, and I hope I can do that today. So the truth about donkeys is this. They're actually, I told you they were from the desert of North Africa, so their DNA is actually as fight animals, not flight animals like horses. So they are bred, their whole being is meant to stand their ground and to not run from a threat, because there was scarce food in the desert and so on, and they would lose their food and their water source if they were to show fear. So that is translated now for domesticated donkeys into a kind of a calm. They consider every decision before they make it. Am I going to be okay? Is this in my best interests? Do I want to do this? Go with you onto that truck and whatever. And so that has become a thing of stubbornness, which isn't really true. They're actually quite smart. They can remember donkeys and people for up to 25 years, even when they've been separated. This has been shown again and again. And they are very, very gentle, loving animals with each other, and with other donkeys and with people. So that's why we can even have a sanctuary, to have visitors like we do, because donkeys will be okay with that. So here we are with our donkeys, and the many that are on our waiting list too. It does take a lot. We recognize we're in a big thing here to look after these animals. We can't just, first of all, they can live to be 50 or 60. I don't know if you knew that. Clearly they have to be fed properly. They're not from this climate, so we have to work hard to keep them dry. Otherwise they get real significant hoof problems that can cause them a lot of damage and a lot of pain. So we have to have special shelters and all the rest of it. It's actually $1,300 a year minimum to care for a donkey. The family I showed you before with Diamond and Ruby, when they come in with that amount of distress and things that have happened to them, or if they've been beaten or whatever, we have to have more vet care, the farrier has to be there, we have a lot more work and cost to do. So it's a very big effort that we're doing out there that's been going on since '92. But here's the thing. So I get, we're doing this, and we're also noble, and we're helping the donkeys, and that's what we do. And I'm very proud to do it. It's a very important job. But our thing is out there, and I hope you will see this when you come yourself, that we get back more than we give, in fact, because of who donkeys are. They have had a lot to teach me. In fact, the life lessons that have been most important I've actually gotten from donkeys, and I am grateful for it every day. I have to go out every so often from my office and get equine therapy, as I call it. And the sign above my desk says, "My therapist eats hay." So the first thing that I got from the donkeys, and so many people do, is just this zen on four legs, calm thing that they exude. They really are. And I don't think we're in a calm society or world these days. Like, there's a lot of anxiety and stress. And we get a lot of people who come out wounded and broken and needing something, looking for something, and often they find it with donkeys. So we had one woman out this summer with her adolescent son, and we found her crying on a bench, and we asked why, and it was all good. Her son has Tourette's. He had not had a single symptom while hanging out with this donkey here named Summer. They just were hanging out for 2 hours. He was symptom-free, which is the first time in his life. So we don't know why. Go figure. But that's our donkeys, calm. That's lesson number one for me. Patience. This we call donkey time. It's like donkeys, gotta wait and figure this out. That's Coco thinking, Frank, are you ever going to move from my spot? That's my dirt spot. But that's as much as you're gonna see. This is the reaction. Okay, just gonna wait it out. And I really need that. I need that kind of to chill factor every so often. And when I get up to that thing that I can get to, I go out and watch them just do their thing like that. Acceptance. Donkeys hang out with anybody and everybody. You don't have to be beautiful, fat, thin, anything is good for a donkey. We'll be friends. I'm with you. Here I am. Let's just get along. Let's just all get along. I won't ask anything else of you. Then you just be here and be with me. I think that's pretty cool. One of the most remarkable ones for me is about trust and donkeys. As I've told you, and I don't mean to harp on that, but it's true that we get donkeys from a lot of really quite violent, rather ugly situations. Let's hope that a lot of it comes out of ignorance and not pure cruelty, but it's out there. But donkeys will actually learn to trust again. They will, over time, and sometimes not that long a time, they will let you back into their world, even humans that really don't deserve it. And I find that quite moving. They don't ever hold a grudge. Another favorite of mine is how donkeys work in partnership, that they are the world's Democrats, in my view. No hierarchy in a donkey herd, unlike horses or mules. Everyone's the same, we all get along, no bossing, no control freaks, nothing. If we work together, I'm good. Something to remember, and I do. Here's the most important one. No, not really, but it is a good one. What I have also learned from donkeys is a sense of fun, and that a really great thing in life is that who doesn't just love a really good roll in the dirt, right, with someone you love? Seize the day, seize the moment, this dirt pile is good. So I hope that I haven't gone too long and that I have perhaps turned your view of donkeys inside out. That's the theme of the conference, and I wanted to close on that. Since I was a kid and since I was in university, I have always wanted to do something that made a difference, that changed the world. My parents took me on my first Peace March when I was 6. They were hippies, as I became. Is that still a word today? Anyway, but I wanted to change the world. And it turns out my corner of the world is donkeys. And then it turns out that donkeys changed me and were able to change me and people more than I think I've made a change. They have a lot to teach us about tolerance and patience and being in the now. And that damaging stereotypes, like most of our stereotypes and assumptions about groups of people or anything, are false and can be quite damaging. Okay. Agreement, Sorry, that's summer. Someone, at least 6 people, asked me, well, are you going to bring a donkey to the presentation? Which, of course, would be better. And if I could have, I most definitely would have. That's the best I could do. That is Summer. She's a very loud donkey when she wants to. That's her again trying to get to, and some days the grass is greener on the other side. She thinks, well, that grass over there looks different than this grass down here. I want over there. So she's 43. She's our oldest sort of donkey stateswoman in our world, and we love her. So I will close then. That's about donkeys, but thank you very much for having me.